Thanks, Deborah. We gave this session the most hyperbolic name possible, just so that it would attract as many people into the room. We now have to live up to that. I thought it would be helpful to get started with, first of all, introductions. And rather than me trying to introduce Mark and Neil, I think it'd be good for them to introduce themselves and give a little bit of their own background and also the roles they're doing. And then we were going to spend a few minutes just looking at some data that I was going to share to help us sort of grease the wheels and get the discussion going. So maybe I'll just start by asking you guys to introduce yourselves. Mark, if you don't mind going first.
Sure. So hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. And thank you, VentureBeat, for the opportunity to come talk to you about precision ag and automation in John Deere. My background's been, spent the last 23 years at John Deere developing solutions that provide value to our customers in the forms of improved efficiency, productivity, just making their jobs easier, and primarily in the harvesting space for our farming customers. And recently, I've taken a position with our Intelligent Solutions Group to manage delivery of automation solutions to these customers.
Great. Thanks everyone for joining us. My name is Neil Green. Unlike Mark, I've been at Otis Elevator Company for only 8 months, having spent about 24 years at Intel Corporation prior to that. I lead our digital technologies organization, and my primary focus is helping Otis make this transformation to a digital industrial company. So we're not only thinking about modernizing how we work and digitizing our tools and systems, but we're thinking about how we use artificial intelligence to drive service transformation, how we think about the passenger journey, and how do we ensure or enable a frictionless passenger and customer experience. So excited to share with you today some of our key learnings and observations as we've been on this journey and to hear what's top of mind for you.
Great. Well, thank you both very much. Very briefly, Mark Patel, I'm a senior partner with McKinsey based here in San Francisco. Together with a couple of colleagues, I started our IoT practice about 5 years ago, and I now lead it globally. I'm also responsible for leading much of our work in digital and analytics in what we call advanced industries, which you guys definitely qualify as, but it includes everything from automotive through aerospace into agriculture and buildings and elevators. I don't want to monopolize this is a McKinsey session. It's by no means meant to be, but I did want to just kind of put out there a few pieces of data that we've been gathering and developing, and I thought it would be helpful to kind of provide some context for our discussion. And I'll go very quickly through this. The first point, just to reinforce, when we said a massive opportunity, we did some research about 5 years ago. We just rebased it around what we think the total value creation in the planet is from IoT in the next by 2025. The numbers are in the trillions, 4 to 11 trillion, 4 to 12 trillion based on the most recent work. Why is it so big? It's not because we're going to see market TAMs in the trillions of dollars. It's because we've got the potential to create massive surplus in terms of consumer and societal surplus from IoT. That's why I'm passionate about it and why I'm excited about working on it. However, when we look at the progress we've made, and this is the most recent data, we find that relative to our projections that we made in 2015, we're only about 30% of where we expected to be in 2019. And when we've surveyed to understand why that is, you'll see some of the reasons down the right-hand side there. It's rarely a function of pure technical considerations. A lot of it is how the enterprise and the organization and humans are adapting and adopting themselves and their organizations to make this successful. How does that translate in terms of the self-reported progress with IoT? Well, when we survey a combination of our clients and non-clients, enterprises, about where they stand today, you'll see that only about 30% believe that they're beyond pilot. So there's many, we talk about pilot purgatory now, because what you see is that the time spent in pilot can now far exceed 2 years for many of these companies who feel that their programs have yet to take off and get moving. I know that's not true for my panelists, which is why you guys are here, but just so we have it in the context. And it's important because when folks talk about the economic impact they're achieving through IoT, we find that the folks who have broken through out of pilot are typically achieving much more outsized returns, either in terms of the cost and operational improvements they're delivering, or because of the revenue growth that they're achieving with new offerings. And I just wanted to leave you finally with a perspective on what makes the difference. And we'll talk about that on the panel. But the data, self-reported in our surveys, suggests that it's a lot about people and organizations. First of all, when it comes to IoT and digitization, you're much more likely to be successful if it's led from the top with a CEO-led agenda. Secondly, that there is dedication in terms of the resources and the transformation group that drives it. And then, not to go through everything, but thirdly, that you actually work more broadly with partners, whether those are software tech or third parties who are going to help you on the transformation. So I just wanted to give that as a bit of context. It's probably a good point to now switch over to you guys. My first question, and maybe I'll start with you, Mark, and then Neil, is can you frame for us a little bit, where do you see you're at with John Deere in terms of the digital and IoT journey? How would you characterize it?
Sure. So AI and IoT are really key for us in the agricultural industry, and I would say critical for us to achieve where we need to take precision agriculture into the future. Food demand, like the food you're going to have for lunch here today, comes from a grower or a farmer that produces it and puts it through the channel to get to the table where we're going to have it for lunch today. And the growing demand for this food supply is projected to be 50% greater than it is today by 2050. That is a huge task for our growers. AI and IoT are helping us get not only our machines running optimally at peak performance day in, day out through changing conditions, but it also is allowing them to focus their time on the management of their crops. So for example, a farmer that has 5,000 acres, that's about the scale of, if you took San Francisco city limits, that's about 48 square miles, you could fit 6 5,000 acre farms inside the San Francisco city limits. Or if you walked around that 5,000 acre farm, it'd be like walking from here to SFO. So it's a lot of area through a lot of different climates and geographies. To hit those demands of the food that's growing with the population increases expected to come, we need to get farmers from a macro level down to a micro level, such that today they're managing over a lot of different variables that humans have a hard time managing and stay on top of random weather events, different soil types, different pests, weeds. We need to make them like a gardener that cares for each plant individually, such that they're making that plant the most successful it can be to get to the yields to meet those demands for food supply. I think we're doing very good. We're connecting people to the cloud. We're leveraging third parties to come in and assist or enabling them to assist our growers through their unique applications. So yeah, I'm excited where we're at. We've got a long ways to go. A lot of opportunity to automate the jobs and get those machines performing optimally day in and day out.
I think about Otis's journey from an IoT perspective, and I would say we started a few decades ago. So since over 30 years ago, Otis has been collecting information on elevators. We have something called REM, Remote Elevator Monitoring, that gives us fault codes of what's happened or what's failed with an elevator throughout the day. But it's not until recently that we started to really do some interesting things with that data. And our big focus right now is on service transformation. We have 33,000 mechanics across the world at Otis, servicing over 2 million units. And we want to be able to get much more predictive analytics on what is potentially happening with those units. How do we address problems before they're resulting in shutdown? So in addition to the REM data that we've always had for the last 30 plus years, we've now decided to put sensors on the elevators. We're collecting information on how many times does the door open, what's the period of time that it takes the door to close, and a number of other variables, vibration, et cetera, et cetera. And we're actually starting to get some really early insights on what is happening with the elevator before we actually have a mechanic show up on site. So, our goal is there's 16 million elevators around the world. We have about 2 million that we're servicing today. how do we go and deliver, how do we service more of those needs with our limited resources without adding a ton of resources? So getting better insights in condition-based maintenance. How do we then provide this information to our customers? How do we make the customer's journey an even better experience? How do we have a solution called Otis One. It's our solution where we provide a customer portal that says you've got X number of campuses with Y number of elevators. Here's the status. Here's what's happening. Your mechanic showed up. Here's what transpired. So just giving our customers that visibility on what's happening so they can better manage their systems and their tools. We're finding that this is creating a lot of conversations with our customers, and it's opened up paths that we hadn't thought about in the past.
Great. My second question for you both is, what do you see as either being the accelerators or the inhibitors to what you're trying to do in terms of you talked about the digital journey for the farmer, for the building owner, or the building operator. With you guys as the guys who are trying to lead here and help them to transform, what's either inhibiting you, or what do you see you could do differently to accelerate?
You want to go?
Sure. I'll start with the surprisingly, an accelerator has been our customers. I think of customers in three senses. I think about the internal customers at Otis that I have to deliver services to. I think about the building owners and property managers, and I think about the passengers. Those are my framework. And the accelerator is what I'm getting from the customers. My VP of product management is saying, I need better insights. I need actionable intelligence. The customers. So the acceleration is really coming from the users, my customers. I would say there are two inhibitors that I've come across over the last 9 months on this journey. The first is getting humans to change their behavior. So today, a lot of the insights, we do predictive analytics on what's happening with the elevator. We have an algorithm, but you've got to feed, did the prediction that the algorithm made, was that accurate? How is the data that the mechanic is entering allowing us to better tune our algorithms? So getting the humans and the humans' behavior the notion garbage in, garbage out in your model is one of the things that we're struggling with, right? So we want to make sure that we can get really good information to continue to fine-tune the model. The second thing is there's I wouldn't say a lack of talent, but getting data scientists, people who know how to code and develop algorithms and think about what are the right questions, what are the types of data points we should start accessing so we can answer these problems has been our second challenge. So we just hired our chief data and analytics officer back in March, and I've tasked her with go off and at least find us 10 new people this year that can help us with this journey. And it's been challenging finding quality and qualified people.
And where do you find a chief data and analytics officer for an elevator company?
I stole her from a railroad company.
In our business, I'm not surprised that some of the challenges are very similar. We were talking about that earlier, and both an accelerator and an inhibitor for us is building customer trust. So unlike in the service industry, which we have that too with our dealers, we need to build trust with our farming customers that it's their bank statement that we're dealing with, whether how much grain they're going to lose or gain every year.
Yep.
And that takes a tremendous amount of trust. And so our approach when we deliver new automation solutions, we need to give them, and then this is maybe where the intersection of AI and IoT really benefits us, is the AI is going out there and performing the task optimally. And we need to show them that it's doing that. And IoT is giving them the contextual information of, yes, I see it's doing that.
Right.
And now I can remote manage my operation, trust that that machine's doing what it needs to be doing, and then focus on other insights to help run my business.
Right. Interesting. You mentioned talent, so I want to come back to that theme. How has it been for you as a business in terms, and for both of you, in terms of finding the right talent, developing it from within? Does it come from within, or do you have to go outside? What does it take to build the right talent? What is the right talent? What's your experience?
Both internal and external. We're at the point, and I would say in a transformational point for our company to mature. We've been delivering these solutions for some time, but we're at the point now where we really need to transform ourselves to be very deliberate in maturing our product development and organizations to be structured correctly to do this so it's sustainable going forwards, much like our mechanical designs have been over the years.
Right.
And we're all trying to go after the top talent. But there was a good point a gentleman made this morning about you can develop that talent also with the right training and expertise. We do have a presence now in the Bay Area with the Blue River Technologies acquisition. That's really infusing a lot of talent and training across our entire enterprise. But it really comes down to getting the right mix around a product development team. You could have the best machine learning people, you could have the best computer vision people. You need the right mix to actually deliver a product to market, and that takes system engineers, test people. You really need to organize them around a product to deliver it.
We're taking a three-prong approach on addressing the talent piece. We're organically, we had several people that were doing some sort of AI and analytics scattered around the organization. We're focusing our time now on putting a better development program. How do we continue to expand their capabilities? Number one. Number two, we're looking externally. How do we go grab great talent that's already demonstrated their capabilities elsewhere? How do we get new talent that's coming out of university? And number three, we're partnering. A lot of this we're not going to be able to do on our own. So instead of focusing on, I forget which gentleman spoke earlier about the optimization and building it on your own versus leveraging what already exists. That's one of the approaches that we're taking is who can we partner with? What are the capabilities that we can either partner with universities or can we there's a ton of companies that you see here today. Part of my reason in being here is to get a better sense of who are these companies, what sort of value do they provide, and how do I partner better with them? So those are the three approaches that we're using to address our talent gaps.
Good. Another aspect I'd add to that in our industry or our business, the partnering, I would say, machine learning and AI experts with domain experts that have grown up in the company is really critical.
Exactly.
Because you can't develop that on your own quickly.
Yeah, we talk about it as I don't know if you do the same, we talk about it as the translator role.
Yeah.
And we elevated the role of data scientist, and then we realized actually, no, it's the data engineer, and then we realized actually it's the translator that makes the secret sauce.
You need them working together.
You have to tie it all together.
Good. I want to throw it to the audience for questions or any comments.
Sometime back it was because there were a lot of proprietary. Oh, I thought I was loud enough. Okay. So in the utility space, I've seen that, having done some work on the IoT side over there is this big lag in terms of, people actually starting the projects and actually to see some of the value coming in. In their side, a lot of it was restricted by the fact that they were dealing with proprietary networks like OSI, Pi. Do you all have the same thing? I'm thinking you'll have some of that legacy, and then what are you kind of doing to not let that be an inhibitor anymore, especially given that there's a lot of developments on the cloud side as well.
Yeah, I'll go first. So Otis has over 1,000 branches around the world. And if you think about our last 20 years, we've done a lot of acquisitions of independent service providers. So they're very different systems, different types of data, different ways. So back to your comment about all these all these discrepancies or different systems. So we have that same issue. The two things that I would say is what's helping us right now is that there's a tremendous amount of support from our CEO, and that percolates down into the organization. We have to change how we do business, and if we don't change, we risk becoming disrupted. Number one. Number two, UTC is our parent company, United Technologies Corporation, and about 2 to 3 years ago, they did something that I think was really smart, is we created this Chief Digital Officer role, and we said we're going to put all the relevant resources under the CDO. So the IT, the infrastructure, the data analytics, the information security, our digital accelerator, our partnerships, our strategy, our business development around digital, that all sits in my shop. So I get to be a little bit of a dictator and saying, you don't have a choice. This is what we're going to do. And when I have the backing from the CEO, it just enables us to go even faster.
Yeah, it's a little similar in our space. However, we've had pockets inside the company that have been developing some faster than others. We're organizing now with the group that I'm part of to get our arms around all of our business units inside the company, leverage third party where it makes sense, but build enough internal capability at the required capacity to deliver at scale internally. And some of our challenges are getting architectures that are flexible and sustainable to grow. Chips are developing quite fastly, and learnings in certain areas. So we're focused on really developing internal talent and capabilities so we can sustain through. Once it gets into the market, we can maintain it and not have to rely on some of our partners for the proprietary information.
Please.
So I work at Intel, and I manage a team that's focused on driving Intel technologies into the industrial IoT, right? So this is a very fascinating topic, hearing from end users and OEMs like yourselves. I was thinking of the challenge of data, and one of the challenges from my perspective is that unlike faces or pictures of cats and dogs or voices, a lot of the data within industrial markets are actually proprietary or viewed as proprietary. So elevator sensor signatures, right, or precision agriculture vibration sensors. Sensor data, that is. And there's a lot of, earlier, Neil, you mentioned the point of partnerships, right? And we've talked about that. So if you believe that partnerships with IoT platform providers is sort of a key to success, how do you think about sort of making sure that your data isn't being used for them to anonymize and applying to maybe your competitors? And that's a conundrum, right? So because it benefits everybody at the end of the day, but at the same time, you're giving up some level of control of your data.
Yeah, in the precision ag space, you're right on. I mean, the solutions that we have out in the market today and are developing for the future, that's our data that we're collecting off our engineering test machines and creating our own classifications, labeling, et cetera. And that's proprietary. We don't want to get that in our competition's hands. That gives us an edge.
Is there a view of what's proprietary and non-proprietary, or is everything proprietary?
I don't think it's consistent.
I don't think it's consistent, yeah. I think there will be standardized non-proprietary stuff in the future, but we're not crossing that bridge yet. That's my view.
Yeah, I think it's going to warrant more conversation. I mean, we're having similar debates internally. I forget which speaker earlier was talking about ad-supported businesses. We have a tremendous amount of information on our passengers, who's traveling in our elevators, and I shouldn't say our elevators, our customers' elevators, what time do they travel, male, female, so on and so forth. Trying to think about how we partner with the ecosystem, how we partner with the industry, how we partner with the building owners is I would just say robust conversations are happening inside of Otis on how we manage that. So we'd love to have some conversations with others in the industry to see how we can get to a platform where we do maintain some competitive advantage based on the data that the investments that we've made, but how do we help raise all boats?